This story coming out of Houston is just so gut-wrenching because I know it's not on the front page of the news every day, but ICE is still killing Americans and killing non-citizens as well. People who, by all practical measures, Mr. Salgado's son says that he was about to have his work permit. He was doing all the things they said do, and it seems as though ICE targeted him. We don't know why. Racial profiling, it might seem to me, from where I sit, and now he's dead. This is from The Guardian. Salgado's death marks the 10th fatal shooting by federal immigration officials nationwide since the second Trump administration took office. A review of public reports by The Guardian shows as the Trump administration continues with its anti-immigrant crackdown.
Right. Well, you were seeing the surge of response in Minneapolis last January, when there were other tragic deaths related to the escalation in ICE policies. And as you mentioned, now it has gone to a more subtle approach, but equally damaging and devastating. I think the main part of the story that we might highlight today, alongside the tragedy of his death, is the courage of the people in Texas who are willing to say, this is wrong. We want to stand with our immigrant neighbors and friends. And the lines that are blurring our understanding of what it means to be here and to live and to work with dignity and decency in this country.
Bishop, I can't let this moment go by having you at the table, knowing how you have placed your voice in the national conversation to undergird the morality of what we do, right, as both citizens and government. Right. And I think that voice, as you know, we have your voice here in this local diocese of Washington. We have, you know, in my faith, the Catholic Church, we have the Pope and our bishop as well, lending their voices, that moral authority at a time where I think we can get lost. I mean, I think a lot of people, as my colleagues would, you know, say, particularly as they cover these stories, these stories have not really stayed in the forefront. The ICE has continued to behave the way it's behaving, you know, detaining more than 18,700 folks. There have been at least 14 deaths of immigrants of ICE in Texas alone since 2025. Talk about the importance and the value of that voice and why it's urgent for Americans to heed that thing in their heart and their ear that they hear when they know what they're seeing is not right.
It's the fundamental call of our humanity and the ways that we have been created to know what decency and care for one another looks like. Right? And in a coarsened society where contempt and the degradation of humanity has become normalized, it becomes news when someone like me speaks what I have been speaking for the last 40 years. It's not news in the moral landscape of humanity. It has become news because of the time that we're in. And I feel especially on the immigrant issue because, as you said, the news stories come and go. The horror of what's happening is constant. Yeah. I don't know if you saw, but there was also a picture from Texas of survivors from the Japanese internment who were holding up their signs saying, likening their experience of being imprisoned in this country to the children and the families who are being detained in Texas. That light we must continually shine until the norms of this country are reoriented again toward decency and dignity.
Yeah. Bishop, I think you've done a marvelous job about telling Americans what the message of Christ is really about. This bastardization of Christianity that a lot of people on the right have cloaked themselves in, it's very hard to watch because it's just so antithetical to what the teachings of Christ are about love your neighbor. Christ himself was a refugee. Right. And frankly, a lot of these people who cloaked themselves in his message would have denied him a room at the inn.